My name is Donna Dukes. I am a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a friend, a woman of God, and I'm living with multiple sclerosis. Life was really busy. Oftentimes I would get home maybe about 9:30, 10 o'clock from work. Always worked in management, and for many years I kept hearing this voice saying, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. But, we keep doing what we have to do. Your family needs you, your husband needs you, whatever. So you just keep doing what you have to do. So I was a very busy person. I've been married for 32 years to the same man. No. Now, I've been married to 32 years. When we married, we had a small ceremony in my mother-in-law's house. I probably should have known that something was wrong because many years ago I was in a car accident and they took an MRI and they asked to redo it, and they said they saw something in my brain, but I had no symptoms. So that now that I know that I have MS, I know that that's probably what they saw many years ago. I think the first actual symptom I had was in February of 2000. I was driving home from my mother's house up Route 78, and it was at night, so the headlights were on. And all of a sudden I saw a third headlight right in the middle of my vision. And you know how you just think you're tired, so I would squeak my eyes and close them and squinch real tight and still saw this third image. And so I tried to shake it off. But that lasted for about 2 weeks. And I went to the optometrist and she didn't see anything, but she sent me to an ophthalmologist who dilated my eyes and still couldn't find anything. And so I really wasn't sure what was going on. But what happened within that 2 weeks time, though, I did lose my peripheral vision as well. So it was just like a white wall. That was the only symptom. So I just thought it was something with my eyes. I didn't know what it was. I used to take aerobics at work. At the end of each of our sessions, she would take us into a very meditative state. At the end of that session, I said to her, I said, Barbara, I said, I was trying to get your attention, but I couldn't speak. I said, I wanted to tell you that when you were over me and you were right in the lower part of my stomach area, your hand was in the front, but in the back I felt something. But, I'm sure that in time it'll be revealed. And it was in her class. In April, I fell off the aerobics bench. We were, doing stepping. So I went to the doctor and he gave me muscle relaxants. They thought it was sciatic nerve. And then one thing I tell people is you need to really know your body. And so I told him, I said, I need to go see a specialist. So first he sent me to an orthopedist. And they took x-rays and he said, well, I don't see anything on the x-rays. But we're going to start you on physical therapy. And I said, really? Towards the end of April, I said to him, I need to see a neurologist because between that time, what happened is my fingertips, like my palms were bloody red. They were just beet red and my fingertips were numb. And so I said, that to me means something's going on with my nervous system. So I went back to my primary. And I told him, I said, listen, I need to see a neurologist. And so he sent me to a neurologist. And when I went to her, she did normal tests in her office and she sent me for an MRI, but she did normal tests. And she told me I probably had carpal tunnel. I said, okay. I think it was 2 weeks after I had the MRI that I had to go back to see her. And that whole time I had the films in the car, never looked at it. But within that 2 weeks time, I actually was home. And that's when I saw an episode of Montel Williams. And he had the program on Living with MS. So as I'm sitting there or lying there, because I couldn't get out of bed that day, there were people on there, and they were talking about how they felt this tingling in their fingers, or their foot was dropping, and they were walking into walls, and I was like, I felt that. I know what that feels like. I was like, girl, no, you don't want that. I said, no, we're not going there. So when I went back to the doctor within that 2 weeks, it was right before Mother's Day. It was the Friday before Mother's Day. And she pulled out the film, and she said, okay, she said, Donna, she said, how do you want it? Good news, bad news? I said, just tell me. And so then she said, you have MS. I said, I knew it. So as far as you're concerned, I don't have to do anything. She said no. So that's when I knew I better go get a second opinion, because my daughter was pregnant with my granddaughter. My sister was engaged to be married. And I was like, they need me. And I was in what is called the relapsing and remitting stage. So that's, if you want to say a good stage, that's a good stage, because it's early. It's treatable as far as with the ABC drugs. You could have good results. And so I guess I could say that in taking the beta seron, I'm living with MS. When I was initially diagnosed, I guess I said to myself, okay, God, you got my attention. I said to you earlier that I was always on the go, always running, always doing things. And as I said, kept hearing this voice say, slow down. So I said, this was your way of telling me to slow down. So I never questioned why me, because I knew that I had heard the Spirit telling me to slow down. Nobody in the family ever had MS and never had a diagnosis of MS. So to tell them, I had to have my I's dotted and T's crossed. I needed to know what it was so I can tell them what I had and what I needed to do. I think I told my husband right away. It wasn't necessarily a woe with me experience, or I was crying. I just told him what MS was and what I was going to do to try to stay viable. With my son, he cried, but I told him, I said, I'll be all right. My youngest daughter, her and I have never talked about it. To date, we have never talked about it. My oldest daughter, she was much like my son. She just basically asked a question. I gave her the answer or whatever. The hardest person to talk to and tell about it was my sister. My sister and I are very, very close. My mom, now mom is mom, right? Research that I found, this is a illness that most Caucasian women would contract, and if you lived in a climate that was colder. So when I found that myself as an African American had MS, I said, well, I need to do some more research on this. Like, well, why is it now becoming more prevalent in our community? And when I was researching that, I found she had a blog up. And so I contacted her. The first group is called Building Bridges, and that's Tennille Flowers' group. And basically, when we get together with that particular group, we're trying to just support one another from month to month, basically. We might have a guest speaker come in. Sometimes it's a holistic thing. Sometimes it's a neurologist, and he's telling you about different medications that's available. There's another support group again, African American. And this group is larger, but they're in Inglewood, and it's called Faith is Our Pathway. And again, it's an acronym, FIOP. And that group, it developed, I think, out of the church. I mean, I look at some of my friends in both support groups, and they laugh at me because I'll come there and I have my heels on. They can't wear heels. Some people can't do that. And I just know that it's because of him. In the whole, it's been 13 years. This is 2013. So it's been 13 years that I've been living with MS. And in that time, there's a lot that's happened. My sister-in-law was diagnosed with cancer. When she lost her hair, in support of her, my sister-in-law and I, we cut our hair. And now I love it. It's too easy. So now I'm, but thank God she's cancer-free. And I think that I'm continuing to be well because I continue doing what I always did. I always try to help others. I always try to be there for others. And I think that God just is keeping me in a state of reasonable proportion of health, as we say, just so that I can continue doing what I need to do. Really have to know your body. That's number one. Don't be afraid. Be educated. You need to see a neurologist. You definitely need to keep a diary. If you keep a journal, it helps you to have a record of exactly what's going on with you from day to day. Necessary. It's who I am. My name is Donna Dukes, and I'm living with MS. If you are diagnosed with MS, don't be afraid. Even if you feel the fear, don't follow it. Just know that with God, all things are possible. Be mindful, be educated. Just allow yourself to just feel what you're feeling, but just continue being who you are.